Hello and welcome. I'm Vincent Makori and this is Africa 54. Tonight, a divided and polarized Egypt teeters on the brink of a civil war. The streets of Cairo are again ground zero for thousands of protesters who stand in defiance of the nation's military-backed interim government. The demonstrators declared Friday a day of rage to denounce this week's deadly government crackdown on two Muslim Brotherhood encampments. For the latest details on the crisis, VOA's Elizabeth Arrott joins us via Skype from Cairo. Hello, Elizabeth.
Hi, Vincent.
Now, first describe for us what you witnessed on the streets of Cairo today.
Well, it began very peacefully. After the midday prayers, thousands of people came out of the mosques and joined in these rallies, not just here in Cairo, but across the nation, as you mentioned, called for by the Muslim Brotherhood to commemorate the dead from Wednesday's crackdown. But very quickly, it deteriorated into clashes, and not just with security, with armed civilians. And we've had deaths reported here in the capital and in cities around the country.
Now, we know that there is a curfew, and it's getting late over there. Have things subsided towards the evening?
No, and this is the real problem. It's less than half an hour to the curfew, and the security and the officials have said that they will deal very firmly with anyone who's violating laws, which would be the curfew. And there's still tens and tens of thousands of people out on the streets. They've also issued the order that they can use live ammunition. Now, of course, they were using live ammunition before, but now this is publicly stated, and it has become very, very scary. I think people are very nervous about what's going to happen once darkness falls.
There have been calls to have a kind of a all-inclusive government in Cairo. With all this happening, is there any hope or is there any indication that this can possibly take place?
It doesn't seem likely at all right now. I mean, there was weeks up leading to the crackdown on the camps. People have been coming in from around the world hoping that they could reach some kind of compromise between the two camps. Now with the violence, not just of Wednesday, but yesterday and today, it just seems farther and farther apart, the two sides, than ever.
Now, we have seen reactions from other parts of the world, including demonstrations in Yemen in support of Morsi, demonstrations in Turkey, but also reactions from leaders like the King of Saudi. How significant is that?
Well, I think just because this sort of represents some of the splits that we're seeing across the region, you know, between Islamists, between military, between democratic forces, so there's these strange overlaps. So yes, it does seem to have reverberations across the region. I think one of the things that struck many people as unusual today was King Abdullah of Saudi Arabia saying that there should be no foreign interference in Egypt. Many people, especially of the Morsi camp, were thinking that that's a little bit hypocritical, since that he has come out so much helpful to the military-backed government, you know, adding billions of dollars to their coffers and being able to solve some of the ordinary problems, such as power blackouts and everything, that had made people very angry with Mr. Morsi in the first place.
Mm-hmm. From what you're hearing from the people, reading the mood, is there any sign that things will subside after today?
Unfortunately not. So far, the military has been able to keep up some support for its operations. Again, it's not clear how long and how, if it gets much more bloody, how long that support will go. But people, there has been a great, strong popular anger against the Brotherhood. They've been demonized in the media. And so, as brutal as this crackdown has been, not everybody is necessarily opposed to it.
Mm-hmm. Very, very briefly, there have been accusations and counter-accusations as to who is killing who. So is it true that there are civilians who are killing other civilians in this case?
It does appear that there are armed civilians, whether they are aligned with the police or not. It certainly seems plausible they could just be regular civilians who are armed.
Well, thanks a lot, Elizabeth, and we hope you keep safe yourself. That's Elizabeth Arrott of the Voice of America reporting for us live via Skype from Cairo. Now, as Egyptians mourn the victims of this week's clashes, the United States and other nations are also condemning the government crackdown. VOA's Zlatica Hoke has more.
Officials in Egypt say the death toll has reached almost 650, including some police officers, in the violence that has swept the country. Supporters of ousted President Morsi claimed that several thousand people were killed by security forces Wednesday. Hundreds of mourners gathered Thursday at a mosque in Cairo's Nasser city, where some of the bodies were brought to await funeral. One mourner said the security forces attacked unarmed protesters.
We had nothing in our hands except for some stones and twigs. I swear by God that all this talk about us having guns is not true. I did not see that.
But the opponents claim the opposite. They say the Islamists incite violence and have to be stopped. Christians across Egypt have reported that their churches were attacked Thursday. In Giza, the city across the Nile from Cairo, angry Egyptians stormed and torched two buildings housing the provincial government. Government employee Femi Hassan says they were supporters of ousted President Morsi.
Today, about 1,000 supporters came and broke the exterior fence and hurled stones at the building. So we jumped from the rear side and they set fire to the cars, the governor's office, the auditing office, and all the governor's cars.
Islamists have called for renewed rallies in Cairo on Friday to express anger after more than 300 of them were killed in a crackdown on their protest camps. Despite a nationwide state of emergency, the government declared in the wake of Wednesday's crackdown. The United Nations Security Council held an emergency meeting Thursday to discuss the situation, but analyst Jeffrey Aronson, director of the Foundation for Middle East Peace, told Al Hura television that he does not see a quick end to the unrest.
It is not clear that there's anyone in Egypt today, any part of Egyptian society, that's capable of stabilizing this environment.
U.S. President Barack Obama on Thursday condemned the violence and canceled joint military exercises with Egypt planned for next month. Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel said the United States will continue a military relationship with Egypt, but warned that some of the important elements of the cooperation are at risk. Some Egyptians have reacted with defiance to the criticism from abroad.
We should not look to America or Europe. My name is Dr. Ahmed Mansour. It is not right that 8 churches are torched, and America and Europe give up on those churches because of the Muslim Brotherhood.
The U.S. government has urged Egypt's military leaders repeatedly to move fast toward establishing a democratic government, including all Egypt's diverse communities. Zlatica, Hoke, VOA News, Washington.